would like to call to order the Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025 HRA Board Meeting. First item is the approval of the agenda. Any edits or changes? We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion moved by Hugeem, and seconded by Mua. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next is the approval of the minutes of the June 24th, 2025 HRA Board Meeting minutes. Any edits or changes? No? May I have a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Wooten
Second.
and second by Commissioner Hugeem. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 6-0. Now we are on to organizational business. Is that, or are we on new business? Which one? New business? Sorry. We are on to new business, which is the resolutions authorizing application to Livable Communities Demonstration Account funding for projects in the city of Bloomington. May we have the staff report?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'm here today, just making sure this is on. I'm here today for some resolutions of support and authorization to apply for the Livable Communities Demonstration Account. This is a grant by the Metropolitan Council that we have 2 projects in Bloomington that are looking to apply. Let's say next slide. There you go. You're probably familiar with this. We've had other applications in the past, but just a brief overview for the sake of the meeting. The Livable Communities Demonstration Account, this is a grant from the Metropolitan Council, the regional governing body. It's focused on things related to housing and economic development. You can see these are kind of a summary of the goals of the program, but really to maximize connection between housing and jobs. You'll see this is the transit-oriented development, which is a special pot of money that they do for projects that are located within a half-mile of high-frequency transit. So think of your bus rapid transit or your rail lines. They kind of have a different pot to kind of, again, concentrate housing near these employment opportunities. The grant acts as a pass-through, so essentially it comes to the city and then we provide it to the applicants here, the developers that we have. They get reimbursed for eligible activities based on what their application is. So really the focus that staff does is acts that pass-through. It's more administrative. There's not a whole lot of work to do with it, but we do some reporting annually and then do those processing to the Met Council when the invoices do come in. And so Met Council requires this resolution of support, essentially just acknowledge that we understand that commitment and that and to ensure the project doesn't conflict with any city goals and priorities in which we are in support of the project. So the 2 projects that are looking to apply this round, the first here is Blooming Meadows South, so you're probably familiar with Blooming Meadows. This would be focused on the existing building and rehab of that existing building, not the new build. But it'd be looking to replacing roofs, modernizing the elevators, fixing issues with balconies, installation of plumbing, boilers, basically maintenance items of the building. They're looking to request $2.5 million and of total project cost estimated about $90 million, and they would start in 2026 through 2027. The other project that's looking to apply we're calling Lindale Apartments. This is located, you're probably not as familiar with, but located south of 98th and Lindale, just over here. A little bit, basically kitty-corner nativity of Mary, or what we're calling the Wixon Jeweler site. So you might be familiar with that. So within walking distance of the bus rapid transit station, which is why it's TOD. But looking at 213 units, this would be new build, 100% affordable, because it's new build. Energy Star certified would be something they're looking to obtain. Amenities such as playgrounds, dog run, fitness center, club room, and patio. And they're looking, these are workforce development, so not the most affordable, but still meeting that criteria for the grant. So the units will be kind of that mid-range with granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, so they're a little bit nicer units. And they're requesting $2 million in funding. Looking again to start in 2026, take some lead time to get through grant and funding to actual construction, hopefully next year for both of these. So pretty straightforward recommendations for applying for the grant. They are competitive grants, but if you have any questions, we do have the developers available to answer questions. I'm sure they're newer or earlier in their process, but they'll be able to answer questions if we have that need.
Any questions? Commissioner Mua?
Thank you, Chair. Can you just explain to me the difference between like traditional affordable versus workforce development affordable? What does that mean?
Workforce is more of that middle income, so that's 60% AMI versus deeply affordable. I think their target is more of that mid-range. I should know the specifics a little bit more. I'm standing in for Kenny Niemeyer, who's been more closely related to the projects. But workforce is more of that kind of 60% area median income focus. Yep.
Commissioner Wooten?
I thought I saw something about labor, but he may have asked the question I was going to ask. It was a slide before this one.
Go back one slide.
Nope. 100% affordable for, I think that's a question that you just got asked. So that's the same question I had.
Okay, the workforce.
Yep.
Okay. Are there other questions? Commissioner Mua?
Thank you, Chair. Totally get the grant options. They are small compared to the total budget. So just wondering, do these still pencil out if they don't get the grants? What are the other options for funding? Would you be coming to the city, the HRA for funding? Just next steps in case something doesn't go the way we plan.
That's a good question. So I might have the developers come up and they can talk a little bit more into those details.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you for having us. My name is Juan Torres. I'm the Director of Housing Development at Aon. So I'm here talking specifically for Blooming Meadows South. So Blooming Meadows South is quite a large redevelopment. It's over 300 units. The reason that the amount seems smaller is there's a significant amount of other financing sources. This includes low-income housing tax credits, a permanent loan debt is really what it is. There's other sources related to soft costs, green sources, but these funds are extremely important and valuable. So as we start to apply for all these other resources, having secured funds allows us to unlock additional resources from the state and, in this case, the Met Council. Any support from the city of Bloomington would be greatly appreciated. Aon has a long history partnering with the city of Bloomington. There's resources currently at Blooming Meadows from the city, and we've been working very closely with the HRA, looking at how to restructure this deal and make sure that we preserve affordability. And one thing to note, Commissioner, is we are modeling all units at or below 60% AMI. We're actually hoping to keep them all below 50%, but as the financing gets solidified, just wanted to provide that flexibility there. Any other questions on Blooming Meadows South? And I'm also joined by the development team and our construction manager if I can't answer a question.
I don't remember the exact loan discussion, but we had another loan that came before us from Aon that we actually had a reduction for the payment. So how's that going to affect that particular project? And I can't remember the exact project, but
Is it related to this project? Was that Dr. Johnson, our past CEO, who might have?
Yes, Chair and Commissioner, that was the deferral I believe you're referring to that came earlier this year. Yeah.
Yes. So we are actively working with the HRA to structure a repayment. So part of this deal is in an effort to do that work. So we're working very closely with the city of Bloomington to figure out options on how to make that repayment. But this deal acknowledges that loan, and our intention is to make that repayment through this deal. But as the financing develops, we would be working collaboratively with the city to figure out the best approach for the city and all the partners involved, but most importantly, the residents in the project.
Commissioner Wood?
So my follow-up question then is, when that discussion was had a couple of months back, we made the deferment. The discussion, I believe, if I remember my memory is correct, is that we'd make sure that that was taken care of no matter what, and going forward, that would have to be a priority versus any other deals that would come for us. I think that's vaguely what I remember.
And this is related specifically to that loan. So this deal it's not a different deal. It's not a different proposal. It's fully related to that. The extension is actually what allowed us to be able to apply for these resources. So in addition to the LCDA, we're also applying to community stabilization funds through Minnesota Housing. That application is due on Thursday. And then our intentions is to apply to MMB for 4% tax credits, all in an effort to be able to make that repayment. Yes, if that answers your question.
Any other questions? All right. All right, and there is a developer online from the other project. Should you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. We can give you another little bit if people need to formulate questions.
Chair.
Commissioner Hughiem?
Thank you, Chair. I just have a quick question about the Lindale Apartments. Is this a new development then? I'm just trying to be clear here because I know there are some apartments there, so I'm just trying to, sorry.
Yep. Chair, Commissioners. Yeah, so this is new build. So Wixon Jewelers, I think they are closed or closing, and so there is actually several parcels south of there that are vacant, so they'll be using those vacant parcels, and I think the Wixon Jeweler site, this would be new construction, so not any. So Blooming Meadows South is rehab, and the Lindale Apartments is new construction.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter?
Thank you, Chair. So just clarifying for anybody watching, this isn't the city isn't agreeing to contribute any kind of funding. This is really just supporting the application to the Metropolitan Council
Chair,
for funding.
Commissioner Carter, that's correct, yes. This is just supporting an application for them to pursue grant funds that would be from the Metropolitan Council. Any contribution we have beyond just the administrative aspect of this would come later for approvals, and they will be going through their normal planning approvals as well through the Planning Commission and City Council. And so there may be other asks at some point, but at this point, this is the only ask that we've had. And it like I said, administrative, not a financial component.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wooten, did you have a question? That answered your question. All right, any other questions or discussion? Should we, do you know the resolution numbers?
18 and 19.
18 and 19, okay. So, we need a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2025-18, a resolution authorizing application and authorizing the execution of a grant agreement for the Livable Communities Demonstration Account funding for Blooming Meadows South substantial rehabilitation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Carter. And second by Commissioner Mua. So now we move on to the second motion. And this is, I'm sorry, Oh, my goodness, my brain. All right, I'm so sorry. All in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes 6-0. My brain got fried today outside. All right, now we're moving on to the next resolution, and that's to adopt resolution number 2025-19, a resolution authorizing application and authorizing the execution of a grant agreement for the Livable Communities Demonstration Account funding for Lindale Apartments.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wooten
Second.
and second by Commissioner Hughiem. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. All right. Now, this next item is a discussion item, and may we have the staff report?
Yes, Chair and Commissioners. So essentially what this is staff from the HRA and the Port came to the City Council at a work session on earlier in July, and there was a discussion around some proposed changes to the prevailing wage ordinance. A number of them were administrative. There were 3 administrative proposals. One was to align exemptions for housing projects with Davis-Bacon exemptions. Davis-Bacon is the federal law that requires prevailing wage. So, this was always the intent of the ordinance, but we wanted to clarify the language to make it easier for administration. Another piece was to clarify that pass-through funding and conduit bond funding is exempt from the ordinance. Again, another cleanup, always the intent. And the third one is to authorize rulemaking. This is something we've done for other ordinances, and is basically, again, it's some of those small specific details around when do people need to refresh wage rates and when do they apply to the project and that type of thing. And so that is the third administrative amendment proposed. And then there were 2 potential policy amendments we discussed. One was to extend the exemption of housing projects up from the Davis-Bacon exemption is under 8 units. So the staff proposal was to exempt projects up to 20 units or less, which kind of aligns with the missing middle housing framework and conversation. And the other was to create a framework by which the City Council could decide to waive prevailing wage in extreme situations to prompt or support development at a specific site. So the 2 main takeaways that the Council communicated out to staff were, one, if there are exempt projects, what are some things we can still have in place in order to prevent any issues of wage theft or labor violations on the site? And the other was around really being very specific in terms of building out the criteria by which we could consider a waiver to the ordinance. So staff is working on building language around both of those things and putting together a proposal for the council to consider on August 4th. And so this is a discussion. I know that HRA was part of the discussions in the past, and so this is just opening it up. Part of the phase we're in now is getting feedback and things from other stakeholders. So the HRA has questions, concerns, any thoughts, we're open to hearing them now.
Questions? Comments? I have a question. What are some safeguards that could be in place to prevent wage theft? I mean, do you have ideas or?
Yeah, we're still in draft form, but yes, we do have some ideas that we've put to paper. A lot of them are contractual based, so things like requiring affidavits from contractors, from subs, from the general contractor, from the developer, including contractual language around these violations, requiring living wage instead of prevailing wage as a way to still make sure that people are being paid appropriate wages. Some other things around advertising, so posting information at the site about labor law violations or making information available to workers, that type of thing. So this is kind of the framework that we're still building out to bring back to the council. Yeah.
Any thought on possibly intermittent audits?
Yes, I believe that's one of them, actually. We have intermittent on-site audits as a potential option.
Other questions? Yes, Commissioner Carter.
Thank you, Chair. So I guess I just want to also maybe clarify for the HRA that the City Council didn't vote anyway on this. It's still dependent on. So I think part of this is also getting any additional feedback from you all, like the suggestions. So I just wanted to make it clear that the council still would need to vote in support of the changes. So that has not happened at this point.
Good to know.
Any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, we can move on to the next agenda item, which is administrator updates.
Okay, I have two updates for you today. One is we have arranged so the Heights project, which has been gone through many approvals and been a process long in the making. They have been struggling to make the project meet the budget that was previously approved, and so we anticipate coming back to the HRA at the meeting on August 12th with an additional, slight additional funding request. And so as part of kind of understanding what's going on at the site, we've scheduled 2 site visits for HRA commissioners to attend. One was earlier today at 4 p.m. and the next one is Monday, July 28th. Also at 4 p.m. So if any commissioners would like to attend, okay, I'll make sure to note you down. We'll have the engineering group there as well on the site, as well as staff, and someone from the HOA will be there as well.
Are you at liberty to tell us what the variance is going to be as far as what this additional funding is?
Yes, so the additional request we're anticipating is $350,000, which includes, it's about $300,000 over for the project, and then there's some additional HRA fees and things, administrative costs and things like that included in that total amount. And we have a proposal which basically is an adjustment to the terms of the existing loan. It would not include additional HRA upfront dollars. We believe. We're still kind of, again, working through the details. We'll bring back a full, more detailed proposal on August 12th.
Commissioner Carter?
I was just going to say that I highly, highly recommend going on the tour if you can. And I will also be highly recommending to my colleagues on council. If you go over there by yourself, you can walk around the outside and see some of the deterioration. But I think it's really powerful to go inside the garage, which you have to be with the contractor to see what kind of the scope of what they're dealing with. And so I think, in making this big of a decision, it's just really important to have that information. Jennifer and I both went today and just...
So I concur with what you're saying about it really is important to take a look at it. Commissioner Hughim?
Thank you, Chair. And I'm not sure if this is going to be if this is available or not, but depending on how obviously the August 12th meeting goes. But is there still the plan? Is there still the opportunity for this to get done before winter? Like that's, I think, one of my big things because we really push this for before winter. So I'm just wondering if there's any hope for that, or if there, and you might not have that information.
Yeah, Chair and Commissioners, I think we're still working with the engineers on potential timeline and getting clarification on that. I'm not sure completion by the end of this year. I'm not sure that we'll have that quick of a timeline, but at least construction beginning by the end of the year, I would say is a key goal.
Yes.
Follow-up. Thank you. My follow-up would be that, and I do realize this is probably a lot more, and it can come on the 12th, but is there going to be the discussion too that if this isn't able to be completed, I know they had special permitting and things for parking on the street. Like, has that conversation been started so that the city can prepare and notify residents and stuff plenty in advance to prevent kind of some of the communication things from last year?
Yeah, Chair, and we have a framework in place from this past winter that we would still have to have conversations and things like that, but could probably use that as a pretty decent starting point, at least.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll save it for the 12th.
Okay, and there's one more update.
Yes, this one is a good news update. I thought it would be great to end on. You all know the Bring It Home program, which is essentially a state-funded voucher program that's funded through the new state tax. The recommendations came out. Minnesota Housing published the recommendations for funding in their packet. So the decision won't be final until the 24th, but we are being recommended for $2.6 million in total funding over 2 years, which includes funding for startup and administrative costs. essentially you had to be a housing authority already doing vouchers in order to apply. And so they've used a formula really to determine that amount, but we still had to go through and make our case via an application. So the vote for Minnesota Housing is the 24th. That's the recommendation. And then after that, it would be a long process in terms of contracting and things like that to get a program off the ground. But it is optimistic that we're at this phase and have received that recommendation. So,
Thank you, and thank you to the staff who worked on that. That's it?
that's it.
All right, well, we have reached the end of our agenda, so may I have a motion to adjourn the Tuesday, July 22nd HRA meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Hukim
Second.
and second by Commissioner Isay. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.